I don't want to toot my own horn here, but I think we moved the needle on the industry standard of when to use microservices.
I'm still not understanding this. Why is it so hard to display the birthday date on the settings page?
Today, I'm joined by Ben Burke. You may remember him from short films such as Microservices, Developer Platform Update, or if you're a true fan like me, Computer... Oh, shit. Now, this is so embarrassing. It's Gooch. I can't remember the other name. What's the other name?
Gooch Lawrence. Computer Time with Gooch Lawrence. Oh, yeah.
Computer Time with Gooch Lawrence. I just rewatched those. Was that the first one?
That was the very first one we ever did back in 2016. The real origin of the whole channel goes back to this sketch because most of our sketches, the process has been exactly the same, which is that we had this script and a concept going into the shoot, and then we filmed it. And then while we were filming, we were like, let's just change everything about this. And we made a totally different sketch. And that became Computer Time with Gooch Lawrence. And that's a lesson that we continued throughout the entire history of the channel. We've thrown out a lot of our plans and made things up on the fly and stuff. So
yeah, so when you were going to go film Computer Time with Gooch Lawrence, there was a completely different concept going into it?
We had this whole other story where he was going to log in and he was going to go to this website and he was going to do some other interaction. There was going to be a whole like journey on the computer. We were like, wouldn't it be funnier if he just couldn't log in at all? And so the whole sketch is him failing to log in and the computer berating him, which we just did as we were filming it. We were like, this would be way funnier. So we did that. And that's actually, we've done a lot of our sketches have kind of evolved that way as we've like filmed. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here.
Okay, so this kind of goes into one of my first questions, which is like, I was curious if that's actually like the first one that you guys did together, because it's actually seemed like a decent amount of work to put together. You got that like fancy intro. Usually people's first YouTube videos like don't have, I don't know, just that much work that goes into the first one.
That was the first video we ever made. Shiva and I, my partner Shiva, who I make the videos with, the other half of KRAZAM, we met in college way back freshman year. We were friends all through college. We were both in computer science. Through college, I was sort of involved in stand-up comedy stuff, sketch comedy, things like that. I was trying to be a real funny guy. And Shiva went down the cinematography route. He was into video production. He worked for a while at a commercial agency in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Go Blue. So he kind of had that, production experience. I had sort of like the comedy background. And then after college, I was in Seattle. He was in San Francisco. We were both working at our tech jobs, and we were just like, we were still friends. We were staying in touch. So one day I was in San Francisco visiting him, and we were like, let's just like make a sketch video together. It was just like a fun thing to do. He already had the experience from kind of his previous sort of video production life and all that. So yeah, and both of us just being like kind of tech people, I had done other editing for like a very short-lived like podcast that had 10 listeners that nobody took off in 2011 or something. So we both had sort of that production and like tech experience. So yeah, going in, and also back then I feel like that was a major like moat, was having that knowledge. Now it's way more common and democratized, but yeah, so right off the gate, yeah, and we really just like, I think both early on, we both realized that what we really loved was like taking these really silly concepts and just going all out and putting as much effort, like way more effort than a sane person would ever think to do into doing things like this. So yeah, it was really like just the ethos from the beginning was doing that. Yeah.
Was there a lot more footage, like specifically for Gooch Lawrence? Was there a lot more footage that didn't make it into the final? Like, did you record tons and tons of concepts, or did it kind of just end up about that length?
We have, for so much of our sketches, we have so much on the cutting room floor. It's like insane. Yeah.
I mean, you guys published the outtakes, so I figure you must have like tons and tons of material.
Yes, absolutely. And there's so much. I mean, yeah, a lot of it is like improvised. We riff a ton of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that we shoot and we envision and doesn't end up making the final cut. Just we cut down for time and all, all that good stuff. So we have a ton of outtakes on the floor. And also, neither of us are like trained actors or anything like this. So, it takes like 20 takes sometimes to get these things right. And we're really dialing it in. So yes, oh my God. I think the ratio of like footage we have shot to released has got to be like 1 to 100, like easily. Yeah.
So like I've done this podcast now, like episode 70, but I've tried a couple times to record something that's not just like talking head casual, and it always comes off like so cringe. Like anytime if I have an actual script in front of me, it's an absolute disaster. Are you both programmers then?
Yes, we're both programmers. I'm a full-time backend engineer. My backend
represent.
Happy to be on this podcast here. I know. My backend engineering resume is wholly unimpressive. I worked at Amazon for many years. I left that about a year ago. I'm at a smaller company now, but still doing backend engineering. And then Shiva is also a engineer. He's a full stack engineer. He's worked at a couple different kind of startups and stuff like that. But yeah, we're both full-time programmers, full-time engineers, and like to this day we remain, there's been some twists and turns along the way for both of us, but yeah, we're still grinding away.
You mentioned that Shiva was in San Francisco and you went to visit him. So is he the Bay Area guy, or are you both Bay Area people?
Originally, neither of us are from the Bay Area. I'm from Maryland originally, the DC area, and Shiva's from Michigan. He was living in SF. I was living in Seattle. These days now we both live in New York. That's where I am right now. And in those days, Seattle, I moved there for Amazon. I was there for 5 years, and I'd go to San Francisco and I'd say, oh my God, this city is crazy. It's huge. And then I went to New York and I go back to SF now and I'm like, what was I ever afraid of? Like, so I love the Bay. I mean, I love going there. I have a great time there, and I love the West Coast too, but originally from the East Coast. And I never had the full Bay Area life. I never lived there and really lived the Bay Area dream, but I was on the outside looking in. I had a lot of friends I visited. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask, like, so The Hustle is my second favorite KRAZAM short. I'm curious, like, which of your experiences like went into that, if that was like, San Francisco living, or if that was New York living, like just what became inspiration for The Hustle? It was
100%. I made The Hustle. We made it like 3 months or so after I moved to New York. And it was 100% just, this is how I feel every day, is I am just going, I knew nobody in the city. I am just hustling around the city I barely understand. The trains sound like gibberish to me. I don't interact with anybody. I'd gone remote to move to New York. So I was living this remote work life in 2018. So I was on Zoom calls in an office that was empty to nobody, and going home and talking to no one and drinking what at the time was extravagant. To spend $11 on a gin and tonic was outrageous.
Now 2 gin and tonics.
I would kill to find an $11 gin and tonic in New York. But it was really, that was really my life. And then all the the self-help and the motivation stuff. I mean, I had that phase for sure. I Google, I read Reddit, I'm improving myself. I'm optimizing, but it was also, the Bay Area hackers scene that I'd seen and like how obsessed people got with it. I just thought it was like hilarious, especially like, what are we all doing? I think that's really the genesis of a lot of the inspiration for KRAZAM, is like taking a step back and just say like, what is all this ever going to? And like, is this really worthwhile? Or are we deluding ourselves about it? So, that's a big commonality, I think too. Yeah.
That's like a plug for small data. I mean,
yeah.
Got to push the latest.
Yes,
small
exactly.
data. Oh my God. Okay. So you're living in New York. A lot of the inspiration comes from that. Have you ever actually at any point in your life read Marcus Aurelius Meditations?
This is very true to life. I downloaded it to my Kindle and I probably read the first 5 pages 6 times and I fell asleep and I never retained a word. And I said, I don't know. I mean, I was 25 or something at the time. Maybe now would be different. But I tried to get through it. I tried.
So good. Oh, that's my second favorite video. I haven't done like the proper introduction yet. We're like 15 minutes in.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone who's listening, KRAZAM, it's a YouTube channel. Go watch every video that's on the YouTube channel. That's what we're talking about here. So Ben Burke, aka BB Fresh, aka KRAZAM, also Shiva, who's not on the pod today. He's kind of the director and you're kind of the actor. Is that the dynamic?
Yeah, yes, exactly. So Shiva is the director, he's the cinematographer, he's the primary editor and all the After Effects, all that stuff. And then yes, I'm mostly the face of the channel and in front of the camera, and I'd say a lot of the initial writing, but obviously with it's a 2-man operation here, so we share a lot of the responsibility. So I might write a script, Shiva will jump in there, give notes, punch stuff up, we'll do back and forth there. When we're directing or shooting a sketch, we're both kind of collaborating and thinking about how should this look, what should we do here, and then when we're editing, we're obviously we both wear a lot of hats, as any small operation does. But yeah, Shiva primarily would, I think he'd call himself the primary director, the primary producer and editor. And yeah, I'm the actor and primary writer. Yeah.
Yeah. You're the backend developer, but the front guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Backend developers can be charismatic too.
Yeah. Carry the torch for all of us out here,
Okay. So my favorite KRAZAM video, which it almost got me laid off, I think at one point, which like sounds really dramatic, is the Microservices video.
That's what we hope for every time.
The Microservices video is an absolute mess. If you watch no other KRAZAM video, my recommendation is Microservices. At the time that I found it, it was about 4 years ago, I think, when I saw it. Is that about how old it is?
Yes, it was recorded right in February of 2020. I vividly remember we were inside of the office. It was a time where we were doing a lot of hand sanitizing between takes, but no masks were on. So February, March 2020, around then, yeah.
Yeah, I must have seen it really soon after it dropped. I was leading a team of backend engineers. We were working on microservices. We had like 30 services to like 6 developers. This video drops on my feed and I'm dying laughing. But I'm like, it's making fun of like my entire team and what we're doing, and it's like so spot on. Like, these are all the problems we're running into. Were either of you in like microservices hell around that time?
Oh, well, I worked at Amazon, so by definition, yes. And when that video dropped, my product manager came to me and was like, "Oh, so is this what you think of me?" Like,
were you at Amazon currently, like still, or was that in the past?
I was at Amazon. I had been I was there, and I was there throughout the release of that sketch and everything.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, the microservices in particular, I kind of didn't expect it to resonate so hard with everybody. Clearly, I mean, that was the one that resonated the most. I don't know if
that's your biggest video, right?
Yeah, by far, and the one that is the most screenshotted. And if you've seen a screenshot of my face at a whiteboard in front of a horrendous microservice diagram, that's that's the one. I don't know if we just pierced a veil with microservices, that everyone has kind of felt this way, but no one had said it out loud before or something. But that one really, I mean, I think that really, and then, people cite that in blog posts and things like this. I think we moved, I don't want to toot my own horn here, but I think we moved the needle on the industry standard of when to use microservices. I mean, the funny thing is, like, I mean, it's for sure, like, I was in this hell. I'm like, oh my God, like, what are we doing to ourselves? It's a real, like, Rorschach test, I think, because some people watch that video, and in the video, if you haven't seen it, I'm a lead engineer. I'm talking about the design of our backend and why it's going to be impossible for us to deliver a trivial feature in less than a year or something. And I'm playing with a product manager who's just bewildered by everything that's coming out of my mouth. And a lot of people watch that video and they say, oh yes, of course, those damn product managers, they don't know what it takes to get anything done. They're so naive. So it's a real Rorschach test of who you think is the fool in the microservices video.
Yeah, it can't be the engineer making excuses for why we can't. I think it's birthday messages, like,
yeah,
why we can't send birthday messages.
Yeah.
The especially funny thing is, so I was at the company where we were doing microservices. The company I was at right before then, so like 5 months before you released this video, practically the whole product was to send birthday messages. It was like a company that sent messages. So like dentists would sign up and use the service, and we would send like reminders. So like the biggest feature was sending reminders to people they had a dentist appointment. The second biggest feature was reminding them that it was their birthday and that their dentist loved them.
Well, let me tell you, Lane, that is not a trivial accomplishment. Okay, I applaud you for what you were able to accomplish. and deliver.
That company had been trying to migrate from their old Java monolith to like a cloud native Go based microservices architecture for over a year when I showed up. And like all that V2 stuff had yet to ship. I left the company. They still hadn't shipped it. Like sending birthday messages is not necessarily.
It's not easy. That's the thing. It's not that easy.
So maybe I'm failing the test.
That's the other thing too, right? Yeah. I mean, for all the ridiculousness of microservices, the world is complicated. You know, it is hard. Even I, the microservices guy himself, you know, I'm torn on a day-to-day basis because I know the horrors of the world all too well. You know, it's just hard. It's just hard to get things right. Sometimes you're trying to just make a good abstraction. You get a lot of people, you have a microservices, but then you're suddenly in hell and you're talking about, nonsense and naming your services after different Jedi and nothing you say makes any sense anymore. You know, it's a slippery slope.
So that actually is something that we changed. I don't know if I can fully credit you as being the impetus for the change, but like part of the joke in there is like, there's the Omega Star service and like everything's named these crazy names that there's no chance you actually know what a service does given just the name. At the time, we were in the process of changing all of our services. Like we had a service called Gutenberg. It was for publishing to social media.
They're always so clever, right? It's always like
once you dig in, there's some backstory.
And they're like self-referential because of like a previous service like had this name, so we're gonna name it like this other one. There's always like a saga of the lineage of the different microservices and everything. I always love it when people send me online that they were able to like convince someone to name the service internally like Galactus or something. I really feel my impact across the industry. It feels great.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was the opposite. Like I saw the humor and I was like, guys, we got to stop this. Like we're renaming that service to publishing service. Oh my God. No, it's so good. I really do think that like the timing of that, there was some kind of like zeitgeist that you tapped into. The way I see, especially like back-end development at like medium-sized companies was like, okay, you had all these like Java and Rails like monoliths in the early 2010s, and then microservices started to get super hot in like 2016, 2017. And then right around 2020, I think is when people started looking around and they're like, there's 4 of us developers. Like, why do our services outnumber us? At least that's what was happening to us. And the video dropped and it was just like, yeah, maybe we don't need this many.
Exactly. And just, I think in general, just like, I don't know, maybe it's like a pendulum swing kind of thing of going from, this is really like simple and straightforward and easy to understand, but hey, there's all these gotchas and, over time to like, okay, well, let's, get really fancy and abstract a bunch of things out and make these really, we're going to do everything right and everything perfectly. And this is going to be great. And then, you kind of get lost in the sauce of the perfect abstraction instead of just getting like something done. So there's both, if you're too cowboy, like that's we all know where that leads to, right? So there's some pendulum swing, and I think you're right. Like at the time, microservices were just this like the solution, right? It was everywhere, it was everything, and I think we, as an industry, came back to like, okay, maybe we're not getting valuable things done. We should just ship. So, but I don't know. I'm a backend engineer. I've dealt with the pain of just shipping too. So you need abstractions. I still believe in the microservices dream.
Yeah, nuance is never funny though. That's
nuance is never funny. Exactly. Yeah. And I had too many
nuances for the footnotes. Like
exactly. I had too many meetings where I sounded like a crazy person to my PM.
So Shiva's not actually in that one, right? There was somebody else in that video acting as the PM.
It's our friend Nikhil, who's also he tweets online at Nikhil Krishnan, and he was a friend. We reached out. Shiva and him were roommates at the time. Nikhil is actually not an engineer at all and does not work in the tech industry. But he gets recognized on the street for being the PM.
I was gonna say that's almost perfect for that role, right? Like
he's now notoriously linked, and people do confuse that he's actually not part of KRAZAM and everything. So that was, not a masterful stroke from us in terms of raising our awareness with in the public image, but it just worked out. He was great. I mean, yeah, he was just he was just a funny guy and our friend, and we wanted to put him in. And at the time, we did not know this was going to be like the thing, so it just happened. Yeah, and, Shiva's been in some, and I think he's having to split between directing and being behind the camera and in front of the camera at the same time. We just wanted to like separate those two, but yeah, now we have this kind of mystery third person who's in our sketch. And we brought him back for a later sketch too, AI Boyfriend, because he's a crowd hit.
Yes.
People love the Go. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, that's has he ever like made fun of Shiva, like, the one time you put me in, coach? Like,
Constantly. Oh yeah. Yeah. Every chance he gets. Yeah.
my video has 3.5 million views.
I think you take the views of all the videos Shiva's been in combined. I don't think it's as much as.
Poor Shiva, dude.
I know, poor Shiva.
That's so funny. Oh, wait, I have to ask you first before I just go on about my own opinions. Which is your favorite? Is it Microservices, or do you have a different one?
I mean, The Hustle always has a near and dear to my heart because of The Hustle was the first one that we ever had any kind of success on in terms of people seeing it. And at the time, I mean, all we did was we posted it to Reddit, and we just did the classic kind of astroturfing strategy. We had our friends kind of go in there and say, "Wow, this is a great video," and it just keep out. That back in those days, that was enough to get you onto the trending page of Reddit. I think now, obviously things are different with. I think Reddit has like an algorithm and things now. You can't do it, but
yeah, cheating's gotten harder.
People really resonated with, and people saw, and it really kicked off the channel. I'd say the Hustle probably like is the, and also I think that was just the one that we just had like a really tight idea. I was living in New York. Shiva was still in San Francisco. We had like 48 hours to shoot that whole thing. We had to basically run around the city. We filmed everything in one day, and we just like, boom, we got it. And then I was just running around empty subway stops and jumping up and down and stuff. But we got it. It was awesome. So I always remember that one as a standout. But I love all of them. That's the cliche answer. I love them all equally, but come on.
Yeah. I love them all equally, except for that I absolutely do not. And the microservice, though. Okay, here's my most underrated. Like, I'm kind of blown away by the fact that developer platform update didn't perform well compared to the ones next to it in terms of views. Oh, like, it's Hustle level good, in my opinion.
Oh my God. Well, thank you for that. That one, we actually even filmed. I mean, I also love that one too. And it came together so like perfectly. That one was another one where we actually didn't really have that much of a plan going into it. We knew we were filming actually a part of a different sketch in the same, we rented out a space to go shoot this part in, and they had this like setup basically as it was like a big room, and they had the part we wanted to shoot in, which was part of content moderation, where I'm in like a dark room and I'm freaking out. Like right next to this weird dark room, they had these like 2 chairs and a plant. And we saw this on the listing to rent the place, and we were like, we have to film something there. We don't know what, but we're just going to film something. We just got, we like to do a lot of what we call costume driven development, which is where we just buy like clothes from Goodwill and just try to figure it out from there, which has been honestly great.
Play it just in character.
Yeah. So we just got these costumes, and we sat down at this chair, and I don't know how just the idea of these kind of very uncomfortable like dev updates where no one really wants to be there, and the person getting interviewed doesn't like it, and the person doing the interview doesn't like it, and probably the people making it don't really like it, and the video is boring. We just kind of adapted, and then we honestly, that was all, we just kind of riffed a lot of it. We had a friend who was filming with us work the cameras, and then there was many very, very serendipitous things about that shoot. Like there's a shot, Shiva's behind this big fern, this big plant, and it slowly covers up more and more of his face. And
like every scene, it just creeps.
Yes,
just creeps in front of it.
And you actually see the camera kind of drop in front of him. And that's actually in real life. The camera was falling, and we only had one person working all 3 cameras. So it started to droop, and our friend caught it and tilted up. But it just looks like even the camera guy's falling asleep as he
just
update. So it was just really, it was so serendipitous. We really couldn't have planned it any better. It just came out so good. And then, yeah, I was so excited. That whole sketch, we're both supposed to be like Oracle employees, but we were a little afraid of like, we put Oracle in the title. Oracle might not like this. So we gave it the
I was
most
going to say,
boring.
did you, or did you keep it bland?
We kept it bland on purpose in the YouTube title to de-risk anybody from Oracle finding out, which I don't know if that would have really been a problem, but we were paranoid. But I think giving it the title Developer Platform Update was probably not the most enticing video, but hey, if you give it a click, give it a try, it's not all about the title. Sometimes you gotta click through to see what lies beneath.
Yeah, I do wonder, like, if that's what hurt it to be, because it's one of my favorites and it deserves a lot more attention than it got.
Hopefully we get the back-end banter boost on it.
Yeah, definitely. We need to shout out our top three. Hustle, Microservices, Developer Platform Update, and if you're feeling real adventurous, go all the way back to Computer Time with Gooch Lawrence.
Yes. And don't forget to check out the sequel to Computer Time 2, which to this day are just the worst performing KRAZAM video of all time, and I hope it never gets out of the bottom.
But you haven't done the classic thing and just unlist it.
Absolutely not. No.
That's courage.
No, we stand by Computer Time 2, even if nobody else does. We stand by it.
I love that. The developer platform update. So Shiva's sitting behind this plant. I'm not going to ruin it. Like, you definitely got to go watch it, but just to give everyone an idea of what we're talking about, like, Shiva's behind this plant. He's the developer. He like doesn't want to be there. He's explaining kind of what changes they've made. And it's so on point. He's like talking about how they reduced like the API response time by like 20 milliseconds or something.
Yeah.
Like, this is the big splashy release. Yeah. And you're playing this like energetic, charismatic marketer. You're like super excited, can't get the other guy to be excited. Did you work at companies like this?
I was never a DevRel person myself, but I definitely watched those videos. I watched them, and I never got interviewed for one, but I knew people who had kind of been interviewed, and sort of similar. Our industry is not really known for our on-screen charisma or anything, so those videos kind of always turned out. And then, yeah, the idea that like what he's announcing is actually like a reduction in the performance of his API. That was just like a brilliant like improv by Shiva. We had this whole other, he did this whole other rant about how they moved to like RabbitMQ or something. And it's this whole esoteric rant about this, their choice of GraphQL engine or something. We have this whole other take of that I think it's on our Patreon now. Actually, you can go subscribe to the KRAZAM Patreon for only $5 a month, get access to bonus clips. But yeah, no, there's
bonus clips.
Deleted.
I'm literally signing up for the Patreon after this.
Man. Be on the credits of the next KRAZAM video, of course.
Hell yeah. Okay, sorry, I cut you off.
No.
I got too excited about bonus.
So anyway, we have a whole other take of him ranting about some other crazy thing, which is also also nuts. You can see that there, yeah.
So I imagine I make programming content that's not very funny, but I imagine one of the harder things to do is to like compress a concept that's funny, but is like way too hard to explain. And like keep the punchiness of the punchline. Is that like a common problem in your sketches?
Yeah, there's so much of that where the content is obviously very tech focused, and it's from our experience working in the tech industry, and our target audience is people who work in tech, but at least we want people who don't work in tech to also be able to watch these videos and like at least understand the humor. I run every video that we make. I make my girlfriend watch a rough cut and see if she laughs at all at it, and is not just being nice. So yeah, a lot of the time, there are a lot of things that are just like so like even just to understand what we're talking about, it takes a longer. It's really esoteric. A lot of the times we sit on those ideas and we're really trying to crack the nut, and that'll come up later. Like we'll take ideas from previous sketches and kind of work them into future ones, or the idea will kind of evolve. Like I don't know, I can't think of a great example, but yeah, we end up kind of drawing from like our experience from some different sketch, and even if we feel like it's too complicated to convey, you know, that'll kind of work its way into like a side joke or something. So a lot of the times what we'll do with a lot of those things is like move them into sort of, you know, we have a lot of like visual on-screen gags and Easter eggs and stuff. So a lot of that stuff ends up there too, which is also good because then it's like if you know, you know. But yes, it's a constant challenge of just like trying to even I don't know what's really relatable to all other engineers other than my own experience. And I'm just hoping that if I can, you know, if we can make something that resonates with us, our thesis is that it probably resonates with other people too. So that's really been like how we've thought about it. Really, is just if it comes from the heart and, you know, we feel we relate to it, then probably our experience, we're probably not alone on the earth in feeling that way.
Yeah. I've wondered that a lot. Like, you know, 10 years of programming experience, where's the overlap with everyone that's listening? What are the things that truly are unique? And part of it is like, what are the things that I've experienced that are unique? And another part of it is like, my reaction to those things also might be very different than like the average person's reaction. Like maybe I love the fact that my microservices, that I have 17 microservices and 2 developers. So on the note about showing them to your girlfriend, I have showed several to my wife. I can tell you that the hustle went over very well. She thought that one was hilarious. She got it. Microservices was rough for her.
A little rough, yeah.
Yeah, because I had to keep pausing it and being like, no, you don't get it. Like the heat death of the universe, you have to pass it in as a timestamp. Like that, there's no, you would never have to. This is you wouldn't have to do that.
Work. Why are they just accepting why are they taking a time range? Yes. If you think about it, yeah. I think the non-tech person power rankings probably is the hustle towards the top. A lot of people like the new one, Small Data, which we were not expecting. We thought Small Data would be really only for the data people, but we found that our well-adjusted friends really appreciate that this is not that they, you know, they understand what we're going for here. You know, things are complicated, right?
I was viewer like 4,000 on Small Data. It's up to like 150K, but YouTube knows that I like KRAZAM. I get those notifications like immediately when they get published.
I've always struggled when I talk to other people and they talk about like, how can I like, you know, really get my videos seen and boost, and like the classic advice there is always like, look, just post stuff regularly, you know, make sure you always have something fresh for people. But we make like 3 videos a year. But somehow, I don't know what it is. I guess just having the pre-built kind of audience there, YouTube just will put us in the algorithm. I mean, I'm sure if we did more than 3 videos a year, our subscriber numbers would be much higher and everything. But in terms of people seeing it and the algorithm boosting it, like it still happens, you know. Obviously there's different videos that do better or worse and, you know, all those things, but it's really interesting. Even after a few months off, you post a new video, like you go right to the algorithm, which is awesome to see. If nothing else, it just means I think we have very loyal viewers, which is always great. Yeah.
I love that you guys are kind of just doing what you're doing. Like, at least that's my perception from the outside. Small Data, for example. Again, this is just my take on it, but like, it's a pretty slow paced video compared to some of your others. And like, I'm just glued to it because I know that like I know that the delivery is coming, right? Like at the beginning, it's starting out kind of slow, but because I've seen your previous videos, I'm sticking around for the jokes that are coming later, even though it's not like Mr. Beast style punchy, but it couldn't have been. Like that was the whole point.
Yeah, 100%. And like we very much, I mean, we don't want people to get bored, or like we don't just want to do things different for the sake of doing things different, you know, like we want them to come together. But we've always been very like, for better or for worse, just we are going to make the video that we believe is going to be the best video, you know, regardless of what the algorithm we know will punish or reward, or, you know, we know that, it's going to, you know, things that go against the grain of what a lot of other videos out there do. Like, you have to make sure you know, even a lot of other sketch comedy videos, you know, you have to make sure you set up the premise and hit the first joke. And, you know, there's a lot of different rules and stuff like that. And, you know, neither of us are ever formally trained or anything like this. We just kind of, we do it by what we feel. We, you know, guided just on our instinct and our own tastes. I think that's part of the reason. It's part of the reason why I think people really like KRAZAM and why it feels different to other videos, is that we just don't adhere to very strict sort of structuring rules or anything like that. We just do it based on our own kind of artistic taste and what we think is going to like, resonate with people and it's not a given. Like, I don't think we could do that if we had like 10 subscribers. Like, I think people would click off the video, but having that audience and people who already know what we do, like you said, like you're willing to wait for the delivery to come. And a lot of our, the jokes are very subtle and visual and they're all complicated and heady, but yeah, for people who stay with it, who can resonate with it, I think that's like it's an awesome thing that people are willing to, I think it goes to show you don't have to do everything by a formula. You can trust yourself and trust that you'll find people who will resonate with. And also I think just having, I don't know, some level of authenticity to it and like knowing that it's coming from us and how we really feel. I think that part, I think people pick up on it, because it's us and what we want to make. We are so passionate and detail oriented about making this thing like well crafted and an idea that is like an interesting idea and something that people can resonate with, all that kind of stuff. So I think that ends up people. Yeah, I think people can tell, people pick up on it. So make what you like. Don't be so afraid.
I love that. Now that you've had that like taste of success, I mean, all your recent videos have done well. Obviously, you've had a few that like just absolute bangers. What are your ambitions for the channel? Like, do you guys have dreams of one day making video content full time?
Definitely yes.
I love it.
It's a real nice part not doing it full time is that you really don't have any expectations around it, and you can take 4 months to make a video. And again, if you put it out and you put it out with a title called like developer platform update and nobody watches it, like it's fine. You're still, you still get to have the moments like now what we just did where you say, oh, I love that video. And for us, that's, that's the best thing in the world, right? It's just having people see it and watch it and respond to it like that. So that will not change regardless of if we're full time or not. But I think, yeah, if in the full, we definitely have ambitions of making, even higher production value and just, better sketches. I think you called them short films earlier. And I think we think of them that way too. And so, is there a world where that's a more serious short film than a YouTube thing? I think that's something on the table, and just other projects. We've dipped our toes into other kind of things. We did like a brief kind of live show in 2023. That was really fun. We learned a ton from that. Doing just like other projects. Like we were at the terminal event with the terminal coffee.
Yes. I was going to bring that up. I was so close to coming and then I couldn't go. We had kind of a family emergency, but I was going to be there, and Prime told me he was like KRAZAM's going to be there. I was like, "Oh my God." Like
it's so funny because I mean, for me, I'm just like, I in my normal life I don't feel like people really know who I am. It's such a strange, and you look at the KRAZAM numbers, they're not that big. Like it's not like that. It's just the niche. Being in that niche and people responding so great, and then being at that event and meeting all these people, I'm like, oh my God, it's crazy.
Everyone knew who you were. I'm assuming
it's crazy, yeah. And then doing stuff like that, it is all like, okay, we want to be part of this like community too. We do. There are other people making like awesome tech comedy stuff, and we want to be around for that and collaborate with people. We've done a few of that. We're hoping to do more this year. So we're growing in a lot of different ways. A lot of it is exploring. I think it's the same kind of idea. Like our ethos is we're going to see what happens. We're going to try some things and, we're going to fail fast and and iterate.
Fail fast and break things.
Fail fast and break things. Exactly. Yeah. Get feedback early and often.
I made my list of like questions and notes. I always do this before the podcast. And I always also, my next step these days is to run it through ChatGPT and be like, hey, based on these people and my current questions, is there anything that you also think I should ask? Yeah. Here's what I wrote to ChatGPT. I was like, by the way, I'm having BB Fresh from KRAZAM on the pod. Here's my list of questions. What do you think I should ask? And the second question in the list was, how did you know when KRAZAM had product market fit?
Oh, yeah.
It didn't know. Like, the next question is, have there been any pivotal partnerships that helped aid your growth? Like, what is going on? This is a venture capital. Have you raised any venture funding?
I think we knew we had product market fit when we got the comment on the hustle. That's currently the pinned comment. That's like a It's like a 7-paragraph long like deep dive into like the themes of the video that a really passionate fan just wrote. And when we saw that, we were like, yeah, I think we got it.
So good.
The comments that we get at KRAZAM also I really appreciate. I mean, it's really crazy, like seeing people, resonate and the messages that we get and all these things. Like that's an awesome part too. Yeah. So
well, I love hearing that you guys are going to be doing more of it and that you do have like bigger because I was worried that I'd ask that question. You guys would be like, it's like, we're just going to keep doing it on the side, but like really passionate about shipping Omega Star. So not going to be able to focus on making, I love hearing that you guys doing videos.
That's basically building Omega Star is the reason why we have to only do 3 or 4 videos a year, is because a lot of work goes into these roadmap items and scoping meetings. And, there's still a lot behind the scenes that we're working out in terms of getting Omega Star out the door. But, it's a balanced effort, and there's obviously a lot of high priority initiatives around KRAZAM these days. So, we're shipping a lot of stuff in here, and hopefully a lot of that, is going to end up to a really awesome H1 of 2025. And we're hoping to continue that momentum into the second half of the year.
A lot of KPIs, a lot of OKRs to hit. I mean, It's not like Shiva's going to report to himself.
No.
Okay, so next question is about your comedic inspiration. Do you have any?
I, for sure, like growing up, very much inspired by the very classic. I think this is probably every comedian above the age of 29, which is the Tim and Eric, and that was a major, huge inspiration just comedically for me, and I was obsessed with them all through college and everything. And
am I dumb? Who are Tim and Eric?
Tim and Eric are Tim Heidecker and Eric Wareheim. They're a comedy duo. They had a bunch of shows on Adult Swim.
Okay.
Most notably, the Tim and Eric Awesome Show, Great Job sketch show, which came out in like 2004, 2005. And then a lot of the people that worked on it went on to go work at like Portlandia, the Eric Andre Show, stuff like this. So they really had a lot of like the kind of early days of having like this kind of retro tech kind of thing. Like they did a lot of kind of retro VHS style transitions.
Oh, yeah.
The whole public access TV kind of aesthetic and sort of things being low budget productions and how that was kind of like weird and surreal.
You might say Gooch Lawrence style.
Gooch Lawrence was like basically a Tim and Eric sketch, like a rip off. Yeah, 100%. So that was the biggest, like, aesthetically, and I was just like obsessed. A lot of people, when we were like first starting out, would always call KRAZAM like Black Mirror but funny, which I think is like the really high praise. But I love that too. Obviously, like Black Mirror and all
see that angle.
Yeah. I wish Shiva was on to talk about his visual inspirations because he's much more.
I mean, if Shiva's down, I would love to get Shiva on.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm going to be singing KRAZAM. I mean, you guys keep making content, and I'll keep sharing it with everyone in the boot dev and backend banter communities. We're gonna pump these numbers.
Thank you. We're really like work Slack like MVPs, which is also not a channel I think a lot of creators really tapped into, but we're really hustling in there. Yeah, the YouTube unfurl. Yeah,
it is funny. Like, I mean, that's where I shared KRAZAM back in the day. Was definitely work Slack. I mean, it's not the most viral. Like, because YouTube doesn't see that you're sharing it is the problem, right? Like, people do show up and watch it then, but man, if YouTube could see how many work Slack shares a video is getting, like, it would probably get pumped way harder.
It's always like our top 3 in our like YouTube analytics of like our traffic sources are always like, it's always like Reddit, Hacker News, and like Slack. Like
that's hilarious.
Like that. Yeah,
that's actually crazy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like these videos, if you look at any element of them, like the thumbnail is not optimized to go viral, the title is not optimized to go viral. You barely know what the titles are things like high agency, individual contributor. So they're very not optimized for people to share about or anything. But yeah, it's been a lot of just word of mouth, and people who, like you said, like you just over the years have become avid KRAZAM fans, which we're a real grassroots operation. We're not algorithmically driven. we're really keeping it real people.
I was gonna say, like, if it's as long as the thumbnail has your face as big as it can be, then like you'll get some amount of recognition on YouTube.
Pretty much, That's our most optimized. Yeah.
I mean, just looking at your last 10 videos, Literally, the two with the lowest view counts are the ones where your face is really small.
Yeah.
The Solar Sermon and IETF celebrates the standards is,
Oh yeah.
That
was also, that's a 45-minute long like live recording of a, of a.
Is that the event you were talking about?
That was a before we did our own live show, which our live show we did in 2023. It's called How to Survive the AI Apocalypse. We put many hours of work into it, and then we performed it twice in New York and once in San Francisco. And then we said, man, this is a lot of work. But we're still sitting on the footage, and I think one day this will come out because it was really fun to do. And it was awesome. And I wish we could do more.
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll find a way to get that out to like people who didn't get a chance to see it live because it was awesome.
You got to put it on the Patreon.
Yeah, something like that. Exactly. Some way to get it out there. But before that, we've been invited. This is the first thing live we'd ever done was a conference called Demuxed in San Francisco. And they kind of have they're a real conference for video engineers, and, video streaming technology, stuff like that. But at the end of every conference, they invite like a guest speaker who's like a comedy act. So they invited us that year in 2022. And then we just had a like 15-minute talk or whatever. We made this like we pretended like we were from the IETF and we were announcing like updates to TCP and stuff like that, but we did it in the style that Marvel announces new updates to like, they're announcing Thunderbolts in 2026 and stuff like that. So we basically just looked at Kevin Feige at Comic-Con and copied sort of his style. And then we made this fake announcement trailer. There's actually a sketch in the end of that video that is a standalone KRAZAM sketch. You can only watch it by watching to the end of this video.
Of the longer one? Okay.
It's just the tie-in at the end of our live talk that we gave. So that was the first one, and then we did the live show. But yes, so that's, if you have the patience to sit through 15 minutes of us speaking live.
Was it stressful? Like everything you'd done up to that point was like pre-recorded, like multiple takes, right? Yeah,
it was very super outside our comfort zone. I mean, Shiva had also done a background in like improv comedy and stuff like that, so. Okay. Both of us had been on stage live before, but compared to our usual mode of comedy, which was, sitting in a room and, like I said earlier, like getting 20 takes of every line and picking the best one, this was going to be live off the cuff. Part of it was, we just embraced it's going to be fine and it'll be fun. And we had a lot of like fallback. Like we had these like graphics behind us that were really, eye catchy and just funny to look at. And we made this video, so we were going to air the video at live. And we did that also when we did our live show too. The live show had a lot of graphics, and originally some of the sketches that are now on the channel, like AI Boyfriend was part of that show originally. And also, I mean, we spent like the week before that talk just meticulously practicing in the hotel room, like just drilling it down. But there's definitely an element also of doing it live where, yeah, you're just kind of, you got to roll with the punches, and like, it'll be, you just trust yourself to come through in the end. And that's also part of what we do. Like when we make these sketches and we have this plan, but then we throw it out and we make something out like Gooch Lawrence. And we've actually done that a couple times where our plan has been sort of shaky going in, and then we go in and we say, oh, there's a much better sketch here if we do something way different. And then we just kind of, we're like developer platform rotate, just doing things live and rolling with the punches. So a lot of our aesthetic has been like, okay, we're going to figure it out as we go. So the live show was just like that too. Yeah.
I mean, you guys are incredible, but also I can't imagine there being a better like act to follow than a developer conference in terms of
great venue too. Yeah.
Everyone's got to be like so bored after like 4 hours of talks.
Exactly. This like weird, also the shtick of the talk that we gave was that we were part of the IETF. So we asked them to introduce us as part of the IETF. So I don't think people even realized that we were not, unless you knew who we were from KRAZAM. They didn't say KRAZAM once on stage.
No BB Fresh, no KRAZAM?
No plug at all, yeah. So we must have just seemed like some weird sideshow, that they hired. So
you must have seemed like the marketing guy from Developer Platform Update.
I think it's better to go on stage, people expecting you to be the IETF and then try to be funny than try to come on as a comedy. Then you're going to lower the bar. You're not going to hit it. So that was the way. Yeah.
uh, that's incredible. So going forward, I mean, is 3 months still the release cadence, or are you guys looking at speeding it up here?
We're always looking to speed it up. We're always working, and a lot of the KRAZAM life has been, we've been very geographically split. So
Hmm.
I was in Seattle, Shiva was in SF, then I was in New York for a while. Shiva was in New York. He left for a bit. There was COVID in there. We've had a lot of different sort of setups and us being remote and just working through, and we've worked around all those like different constraints, like making the hustle in like 48 hours. Um, Another one, macro, where I'm like the accountant, like streaming Excel.
Yes. Yeah.
That one is actually another one we made remote, where
That's
that was,
one I
it was
forgot to
something
mention.
I could film just with like a camera on my laptop. I had my phone camera just pointed on my laptop to record, and then Shiva was like directing from a video call. So there's another. It was like a constraint breeds creativity kind of thing. But anyway, now we're both in the same city. We've both been in New York for multiple years at this point. So we're settled. We have an apartment. We now have a physical space that we started renting to go do KRAZAM there. We meet there regularly. So a lot of the
Wow, that's
delays and
like
stuff,
serious.
we really, yeah.
That's
So we're much more in the game of, okay, let's really execute well and focus and get things out the door in a reasonable amount of time. And we're always cranking on stuff. Like, even though it takes months and months to get these videos done, like we're always working on them. We're always writing and shooting stuff. So we're hoping, especially now, to really start to get in our groove a little bit, because I mean, we're always going to keep the bar high and the craftsmanship high, but
yeah. There's a lot of stuff to make fun of right now.
yeah, exactly. The world needs it.
Yeah, the world does need it. There's a lot of good material, I think. I mean, I'm not funny, but I think there's some stuff to play with.
Always.
The Excel video macro, I forgot to shout that one out specifically. I actually saw that for the first time this morning when I was rewatching a bunch of KRAZAM in prep for this podcast. I'm going to throw that one out as my number 4 for those of you listening and are looking for a short list.
Keeping track at home.
Yeah, for those of you keeping track, it's like you're sitting at the computer explaining the meta game of like competitive Excel programming. First of all, aren't Excel competitions like actually a real thing?
That is a real thing, and now whenever those tournaments happen, I get sent links to them, and and the videos on that video macro will go up a little bit. So yes, they've grown a lot. Let me tell you, the Financial Modeling World Championship. Shout out to them. They've been growing since 2018 or whatever we put that one out. But yes, Excel is a real thing. We also, that one was really inspired. It's kind of a detour from the other, sketches on the channel that are so much more like being in the tech industry. But it was something like both of us just love like esports and gaming and Twitch and all that stuff. We wrote that one to be about like a professional solitaire player, and kind of the joke was like, he was raging, but he's not playing against anyone. It's just himself. but then I have a lot of friends who are all like CPAs and accountants, and they are just constantly, I would always be just blown away by how good they were at using Excel. So I don't know, these college of all ideas kind of just formed together. And then, like I said, too, it was something we could make while we were like remote, which was awesome. And then, yeah, it was just like, in that video, we read through sort of the patch notes of like they're the actual patch notes of Microsoft Excel for whatever it was, February 2019. And
those were real patch notes?
Those are real patch notes, yeah. And we just raged about them as if we were like a streamer. It was great. And then
it's
we
like Chinese characters released. They have no idea what's going to happen to the competitive scene.
Exactly. So for a while, I mean, that was actually the biggest one. That was really right after the hustle. We released that, and that one started to also grow a lot and actually got a lot of traction with like accountant subreddits and stuff. We were still using our Reddit-based growth hacks at this time. we ended up with like a lot of like accountant KRAZAM fans. And for a while, we were like, maybe we should just like go all in on this, and like let's just be like the Excel streamer guys, and just be like, like
probably a lot of material there.
I'd be on a different podcast right now, that's for sure. But It was kind of crazy too. I mean, that was also one, I think it was very tempting to like do that over. And we did a second macro and like I would gladly do more. But it's something to be, we were also like, you know what, we're gonna like we're not just gonna do the same joke, we're gonna keep it fresh and moving. And then we did microservices and bigger things maybe even yet to come. Even though now I think we're a little more settled into our niche and like found that a little more of like this is what we can make a lot of videos about is like tech and working in tech industry. We still are looking for ways to switch it up and change what we do and always keep fresh and original, so yeah.
I mean, personally, I love the fact that there's so much about just about backend engineering and data, because I feel like a lot of YouTube gets dominated by JavaScript, and so it's nice to see content that's not all JavaScript.
Yes. There's not enough jokes about Arch Linux.
Yeah, exactly. The site reliability engineer one that came across my feed 10 months ago. It's like that kind of stuff. Here's the thing. There's not very many DevOps content creators. Yeah. Like there's a lot of people that write JavaScript that like making videos and content, writing blog posts. I think it's almost like a personality match for like front-end developers to be a little bit more in front of the camera. But like stereotypically, a lot fewer like back-end and site reliability engineers are out here publishing on YouTube. Yeah. And so you're really representing.
Yeah. I don't know how my brain developed in such this way in particular. The teams I worked on at Amazon and AWS were very like DevOpsy and like IT SM oriented. Like they were around sort of system engineering and uptime and stuff. It was much more like a MSP for enterprise style of AWS. I wasn't like so deep in the weeds of, I don't know, like optimizing the, S3 load balancer somewhere, which is a team of 100 people, doing that.
Right.
So I was around in my career, like a ton of like SRE, DevOps, like syseng people. I don't, also probably just even by AWS standards inundated with so much more enterprise overhead and acronyms and stuff that even by AWS standards, I was probably in the in the upper echelons of being around. So yeah, I don't know. It was similar. Like I would just hear the stories of like these sysenges and DevOps people who are, my friends at Amazon. There's just like there's a difference between what they do every day and how you think of like programmer or like a software engineer. Like there's a material difference, and also in like their attitude towards the world, I think is a little different. So
they're much more likely to become small data people.
That's for sure.
In my experience.
Yeah. So am I.
Yeah. Like, man, after 10 years shipping microservices and making sure load balancers are online, the garden's looking real nice.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm ready to just, go count the number of berries in my yard. I think that's enough data for a lifetime. Yeah. I just recently, I tweeted about it a few weeks ago, is that I had this moment. I was on Spotify and I had my Discover Weekly. I was just listening to my Discover Weekly on Spotify blindly, and I heard this song that was the worst song I'd ever heard in my life. It was just awful. And I said, what is this? And I looked, and it was an AI generated song with an AI generated artist, and it had been boosted algorithmically. This artist just had, thousands of songs, and they were getting boosted by other bots to my feed. And I was just like, why? What am I doing? Why am I using an algorithmically surface an AI generated song listened to by fake bots to boost it into my Discover Weekly feed? This is not what we're here on this earth to do. So I tweeted about this, and then someone tweeted me a link to an open source, like self-hosted music server called Navidrome. And I went down to Micro Center and I bought a Raspberry Pi that day. And I found my old hard drive that I've kept with me, along with 10 other hard drives that I've carried around with me for a decade plus, because I've never thrown out a hard drive in my life. And I put that into the Raspberry Pi, and I set up Navidrome that day. And now this is how I listen to music from now on, as I run my Raspberry Pi server and I update it. And it's been great. How wonderful and fulfilling.
Did you dig up all your old 2008 mixes?
Oh yeah, with like untitled track by untitled artist with no album art,
no metadata.
I know which one it is. I know what it is because I've listened to it enough. No.
Oh, 2 minutes and 39 seconds. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
exactly
that's
what
exactly, yeah. Old CD rips from my middle school days. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, back when iTunes songs were $1 and that was too
Oh yeah.
expensive for me. So,
Yes. And those are actually DRM locked. A lot of them you cannot. They removed DRM in iTunes, but some of the early ones I cannot even listen to it. That I paid a full $1.99 or something to buy. Yeah.
so you're a data hoarder then, I
I'm a
take it.
data hoarder. I really, yeah. I've gone down the road. I'm a beginner, I'm not so insane, but I've got a lot of projects. I've got a lot of I've got a lot of big dreams for this Raspberry Pi, we'll say. Yeah.
But you're just one AI generated song away from flipping the switch.
Yes,
And
exactly. Yes. Canceling my Netflix and all this. Yeah.
I actually recently just set up Plex because I have all the, Studio Ghibli,
Yeah,
the
of course. Yeah.
Miyazaki films.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
We're backend engineers.
We're the backend banter podcast.
So I set up a Plex server, ripped all my Blu-rays to a 4 TB solid state hard drive. Now my 3-year-old daughter watches Totoro and Castle in the Sky, streamed across the Wi-Fi of the home.
Yes, that's the thing. She's gonna remember those movies, and she's gonna remember streaming them off the home server and how the data stayed entirely within your purview. She's gonna remember that. She's gonna appreciate that as she grows older. She's gonna say, I really appreciated the data fingerprint.
What she's really going to appreciate, or what she's really going to remember, is that Dad was playing Dota 2 and turned off the Plex server so that he'd stop lagging, and Ponyo stopped halfway through. She's going to be upset about that for the next 3 years.
That's good. No, I think that's good. That's better.
That's good parenting. Yeah.
That's good parenting. Yeah, I mean, I had the old, days when you couldn't be on the phone at the same time as the internet.
Phone and the internet, yeah.
Of course, yeah. That was great. Because I learned to appreciate the internet for when it was available.
Yeah, no bite taken for granted,
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's real. I think reduce. You don't need so much. You don't need a million movies. Just watch 10 for
over and over and over
yeah.
again. How are you going to quote movies for the rest of your life unless you've seen them 150 times?
I know we're too depolarized now. Someone comes along and says, "Oh, have you seen Baby Girl?" I say, "No. There's been 1,000 movies that have come out."
Wow, life is so simple.
Yeah.
This is what backend development and DevOps work and specifically us engineers are going to be reduced to. I wonder if there's high churn in the industry
of people in backend.
Yeah, specifically like, for example, I know that my professor when I was in school, he was like an Apple II enthusiast, one of the best programmers I've ever met. Actually, I had him on the pod. He's like episode 10 or something for anyone listening. But yeah, he like raises chickens now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, he just can't do Kubernetes for too long.
That really is true. There really is something to that of like just thinking in these terms. You're just so not grounded to reality, and it's so abstract and complex, and you're trying to hold this all in your head. Yeah, we
head in the clouds, feet in the YAML.
We were not born to deploy Kubernetes on a physical level.
I was waiting.
My hobby is outside of work. I like cooking. I like doing things very like viscerally. Yeah, it's true. It really does change. I think this is just every year that goes by, I think the things that like old people do like make more and more sense. Where I'm just like, you kids, you have no idea. Every year I get it.
Yeah. I have a very vivid memory as a child, like looking at my dad and my mom sitting on like a bench at the park and just being like, they must be so bored. Like, I'm having so much fun. Like, why don't they come over here and play with me? Like, I'm having so much fun, like running around on this park. And now, like, I take my kids to the park and I'm like, please let me sit on this bench for half an hour. Like, I couldn't comprehend it back then, but
I know that's all you crave. That's it. I walked by this couple the other day just walking on the street. It's been cold here in New York, but I was walking down and this couple was walking, the opposite way from me on the sidewalk. And I just heard one of them say, it's not too bad if you're standing in the sun. And I almost instinctively had to stop myself from just turning to them and being like, you got that right. Like just just being a pleasant old guy on the street. I just felt it. Yeah, it was right on the tip of my tongue. Yeah.
I've caught myself making, like old man dad
Yeah.
jokes that like
Oh, yeah.
just even 5 years ago would have disgusted me. Like,
Yeah.
it's so not funny. That's so cliche. You know, like somebody walking out of Costco with like 10 pizzas and struggling. And me, like, I have to literally like bite my tongue not to be like, oh, did you save any for me? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I just can't. There's just something about passing 30.
It comes out of you. I know. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, I gotta talk to Shiva, see if I can get him on as well. So we really gotta. The world needs more KRAZAM. I'm so glad to hear that you guys are doing more of it. Go ahead and just take a second, plug any digital location that you want our listeners to find, such that they can follow you.
For sure. Well, yeah, it's been an absolute blast talking with you too, Lane. If you want to find the channel, and if you haven't seen any of these videos that we've talked about and you're interested, the channel is KRAZAM, KRAZAM. Find us on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram, although YouTube is the place to go. And then we also have our Patreon, Patreon/KRAZAM. We got some bonus clips on there. You can find me. I'm at BB_fresh on X. Find Shiva Killaru, SHIVAKILARU. Yeah, I spelled that right. Yeah. Sorry. KRAZAM on Twitter, KRAZAM on Instagram, KRAZAM.tv. And yeah, we're always more coming. We're always making more. Reach out, DM, watch, subscribe, enjoy. We love you. I hope you enjoy the videos, and we're always making more. We're always doing bigger things and bigger and better. So yeah.
Amazing. Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Talk to you later.
Thanks. Have a good one.